Please get a refund from Steam if you aren't happy. Those were the words of Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford during his epic crash out over players complaining about the playability of Borderlands 4 on their PCs. Gamers and the CEO have been engaged in an ongoing back and forth surrounding the optimization of the latest entry in the Borderlands series. Gamers think that the game is poorly optimized, and that's the cause of the many issues that they are facing, whereas Pitchford argues that players' PCs are to blame. And to those who are having trouble with it, they should look at upgrading their rigs and be better informed about what their computer is actually capable of and able to deliver. The solutions to that, of course, could be just buying the game on console. And while things do seem to be better on the PS5 and Xbox consoles, if you bought it for the Switch 2, you would have had to pre-order it, but you'd be out of luck. As Gearbox has announced that they are delaying the Switch 2's release indefinitely so that they can continue to develop and polish. So I guess PC it is. Pitchford said in another tweet that every PC gamer must accept the reality of the relationship between their hardware and what the software they are running it is doing. In a long series of tweets, he continued, "We have made an amazing and fun and huge looter shooter campaign game. The game is pretty damn optimal, which means that the software is doing what we want without wasteful cycles on bad processes. With Borderlands 4, every PC gamer has a lot of tools to balance their preference between FPS, resolution, and rendering features. If you aren't happy with the balance between these things that you're experiencing, please tune to your preferences using the tools available to you. We appreciate the incredibly high degree of passion and excitement there is for the game we have been developing for over 6 years. We know strong feelings leads to strong opinions. We hear you, and we see you. For a campaign shooter looter, it is absolutely reasonable for developers to focus on default settings achieving 30 frames per second on minimum specification and 60 frames per second on recommended specification. Some of you would prefer more FPS or more features or higher resolution. We provided many tools to help you make those trade-offs. It is a mistake to believe or expect that PCs between minimum specifications and recommended specifications can achieve all of extremely high frame rate, maximum/ultra features, and extremely high resolution. If the last post makes you have a negative reaction, I bet you have emotions and expectations that you feel aren't sufficiently attended to. I'm sorry, but please accept that the game is doing a lot and running pretty optimally, and that you may have to either accept some trade-offs between FPS features and resolution as your preferences, or you will continue to be disappointed. There are a few real issues, but they are affecting a very, very small percentage of users. We are fixing those, and many are already fixed. We are doing significant work on PC performance and everything else that is coming at us. We are not stopping. If you have feelings about PC performance, my advice is to not wait and to make the trade-offs, to prioritize what is important to you. If it's SPS, you can get higher FPS by turning some features down or reducing resolution. If it's features or resolution, you may be playing at 60 frames per second or even 30 frames per second if you have lower end hardware. Use DLSS. It's great. The game was built to take advantage of it. This is not a competitive SPS, and I've been led to believe that in a blind test that humans cannot detect any input lag. My own demonstrates and experiments, I believe that this is true. Everyone has the freedom to believe that they want to believe, and I know on the internet that it's easy to find rage and passionate people who are convinced of all kinds of things, whether they are true or not. If you're so attached to the idea that DLSS is bad for your game experience because of something you saw or read on the internet, I am sorry. I hope instead that you would use the technology designed to give you the experience you want. But you do you, and we'll keep working. And the more people that play, the more data we get, and the easier it is to keep making improvements. So thank you for playing, and thank you for your passion. If you think you have a different kind of issue that is real, that I haven't spoken to here, please reach out to customer service. I've personally done some CS for Borderlands 4 and have helped a lot of people, but it's impossible for me to help everyone use CS. And thank you for your passion. I know nobody posts anything unless they really care about something. And from the most passionate love to the most passionate hate, you were telling me that you really care. I feel you, and I thank you. My response to that is that maybe developers need to stop chasing the dragon when it comes to pushing their games to the limits where graphics are concerned. While the release of new and better hardware is never ending, it is unlikely that many gamers are going to have the money to keep up with the latest models. We saw that with Monster Hunter Wilds, a game that launched to great sales, moving over 10 million units in its first month, but was similarly plagued with performance issues that undoubtedly led to gamers with less than optimal PCs to sit this game out. From a Games Radar article on the Capcom financial report for Q3, which shared that Wilds had only sold 477,000 copies in that quarter, quote, "Bear in mind, Wilds came out in February 2025 and has sold over 10.58 million copies to date, yet fewer than 500,000 copies were sold in its entire 3-month quarter. Wilds is not an old game, but is currently tracking behind much of the evergreen portion of Capcom's catalog. That is what we in the business call bad. If that's soft, it must be so incredibly soft that you could spread it on a croissant," close quote. We're at a time where people are either working but struggling to make ends meet, laid off and looking for work, or in fear that they could be laid off at any moment, and as such, are less willing to spend money on frivolous things. As much as I love video games, I have to admit that they are rather frivolous. The first thing that gets the axe when it comes to budgeting. While I recognize that video games are less expensive now than they've been in the past relative to inflation, it's a tall order to ask players to fork over $70-$80 to play the latest AAA release. Asking them to make sure that their PC is equipped with the best overall hardware as well is even more difficult. There is a bridge between the two extremes. Games that are either free or cheaper with microtransaction. It's something that can work, but people can only play so many titles like Fortnite before their expendable income runs dry. We're already seeing it with big purchase items like the Switch 2, which sold well at launch but is a far cry from the demand that we saw for the Switch 1, which makes me worried. When I hear that companies want to increase prices of their games or move on to the PlayStation 6 or the next Xbox, it's just not a good time to do that. Many of us have invested in our current consoles only a few years ago and have little interest in upgrading again. If these companies insist on the price increases or a new console or demanding that players purchase better graphics cards, I think that we could see a crash of the video game market. So, what do you think? Do you agree that gaming as a hobby is getting a bit too expensive when it comes to AAA titles? Or am I completely off base? Let me know your thoughts about all of this in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe. We have videos like this coming out every single week. And we have a bunch of other channels, including Those Fake Nerds, which are more like discussions about ideas in video games, as well as our sports channel, Wicked Good Sports, and our podcasting channel, Better Radio. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.